Here's a quick demo how to synchronize Airtable to Webflow CMS using PowerImporter. So here we have a job board in Webflow that has three collections. It has jobs, job types, and job roles. And in Airtable, we have the same structure. We have the same tables here, jobs, job role, and job type. And job type is a link to record to the job type table, and the roles here, the same thing. It's a link field to the job role table. And we're using a view here that shows only the jobs that have been curated. So now we can go into PowerImporter and create a workflow that we will use to keep them in sync. So we click Clone Workflow. The first step is we enter the Webflow API key. In this case, I've already entered it. So now I just have to select which site I want to sync. So now I click Save and Continue. In this step, you enter the Airtable key. In this case, I've already entered it, so it shows me all my Airtable bases. So I select the job board one. And now in this step, because Airtable could have multiple tables and Webflow could have multiple collections, we choose which ones we want to sync, and we say which one syncs into which one. So for jobs, if you remember, we had a view that we had created. So this is the view that we want to sync. So we only want to sync jobs that are in this view, and we will sync them to our jobs collection. And for roles, we're just going to use the default view, which is the grid view, and we will sync it to our roles collection. And same thing for types. We'll sync it to our type collection. And now we can click Save and Continue. In this step, we map the fields. So here on this side, we have our Airtable, and here we have the Webflow collection. Now, when we choose the column, PowerImporter will only show us the compatible fields. In this case, it's a text field, so pretty much anything is compatible in this case. But we know we want to sync the name. We'll leave the slug empty so that Webflow can generate it for us based on the name value. Here we have a number field, which is actually the job ID. So we see that PowerImporter will even show text fields because we will convert text to numbers. But in this case, we have a number field here, job ID. Role is a reference field. So we will assign it to role, and here to type. Again, we see that it only displays us other collections. The link is a text field, so we'll use the link field here. Location is also a text field. This is an image field in Webflow, so we will only be able to map it a attachment field in Airtable. Company name is a text field, and the description in Airtable is actually a rich text field. So we want PowerImporter to convert it to HTML for Webflow. So we'll check this here. Otherwise, it would just copy the value as is. And now for the other two tables, we're only going to map the names, and we'll let Webflow generate the slug for us. And that's it. Our workflow is ready to run. Now we could click sync and sync it right away, or we can do a test and review first, which will just simulate the import. So it will not modify anything in Webflow. All it will do is map the fields to make sure that the values are compatible and everything looks right. So let's do that. So now it's retrieving all of our Airtable data, and it's mapping the fields. So it's not calling the Webflow API yet. And it worked. The simulation said that it would have created 13 records if it was a real import. And we can view the details here. We have the job roles. We see that it only mapped the name field. That's what we told it to do. It doesn't show the slug because that's what the Webflow API is going to do. We have the job types here, same thing, it's just the name. And we have the jobs. For the jobs, we see that it transformed the record links here into Webflow IDs. Same thing for the type. And the image was transferred over as a Webflow image. So everything looks right. We can now run the sync. So we'll click sync. So now this time it's going to run just like the simulation, except it will actually call the Webflow API and modify the CMS. Because our CMS is empty, it will create the 13 collection items. And here it is. Our 13 collection items were created. So now we can go to Webflow and refresh. And now open the CMS, and we see that it created 5 jobs, 5 types, and 5 roles. 3 types. And if we go here, we have the description, we have the image, and we have our reference fields here that were set. And if we go to the actual site and refresh, we see that the jobs have been created. And if we click on one job here, we see that the HTML was generated for that rich field. Now, if we go into Airtable, because let's say on our site we have a button here to submit a new job, and if someone clicks it, it goes to a Airtable form, and now someone can submit a new job, and it will appear in Airtable here as, let's say, a waitress job for tchotchkes. Now, if we check the curated, it will now appear in our curated job list. So now we can go to PowerImporter and we can sync again. This time, PowerImporter will again retrieve all the Airtable records, but it will try to detect what has changed. So it will see that the original 13 items have not changed. It's only that one new one that we need to create. And it was successful. It kept 13 documents and it created a new one. If we go to our job board and refresh, go to the home page here, we have the new job. And if we go to Airtable and delete a record, or if we modify a value, same thing. We just have to go back to PowerImporter and click sync, and it will detect what has changed and only update what needs to be updated in Webflow's CMS. And that's it. Once everything's working, you can even schedule it to run every hour or every day, or continue to manually sync it if part of your process is to have, people curate the data before you want to publish it. That's it. That's how I use PowerImporter. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate. Scroll to the bottom and email me. I'm here to help. Thanks.